I am often accused of not fully understanding a topic before I attempt to debunk or comment on it. For example, I once received a bit of backlash when I once claimed that I had destroyed astrology in less than 10 minutes. And similarly, I've also been told that I've not researched the mud flood reset enough either. So today, after much thought, I decided that I would sit back and relax and learn about the Tartarian Mud Flood reset. Hello all and welcome along to another episode of Tinfoil Tuesday with me, Simon Dan. Thank you very much for joining me. Before we begin today, I want to point you in the direction of the Run Man Dan channel. It's something I've been doing for a while now. I've recently completed the Andover Trail Marathon. Please do take a look. The link for that is in the description. And I've got some big adventure races coming up later next year. So please do subscribe and check that out if you're interested in that sort of thing. Right, back to today's video where Jeffrey, Son of Liberty, is going to teach us all about the Tartarian Mud Flood reset in a video that he's titled Tartarian Reset in a Nutshell. Here we go.
We've been trying to make this video for like 2 weeks because this rabbit hole is so immense. Deep. It's unlike any rabbit hole I've ever been around. And there's been several rabbit holes I've been down in the past 10, 15 years that have completely changed my life and how I looked at things.
The trouble with that, of course, is that not everything you see on YouTube is correct.
And this one is like the mother of all those. This is like the, the big boss at the end of Zelda. Huge.
This ties a lot of things together.
This ties a lot of things together with our history.
Sounds exciting. I'm genuinely looking forward to hearing this.
And basically is what we're finding out, or what the evidence is pointing at, is that there was a modern culture in the past living in the United States and living all over the world. They had a very vast empire.
Nothing too shocking here. There's been a variety of empires spread across the world throughout human history.
It is speculated that this empire had free energy technology.
Okay, first red flag for me. There's no such thing as free energy. You can convert one energy to another, but there's always a cost. Even solar power isn't technically free because the sun would have lost a small mass of hydrogen in the process of making that energy. The only thing I can think of here is that Jeffrey is talking possibly about supplying energy for free, which is fair enough. But again, there's always a cost, and nothing can be supplied for free if it's not sustainable.
And they weren't they were quite advanced for their time, them being around in the 16th century to the early 19th century, correct?
Yeah, but I believe so. I mean, it's hard to say.
But basically, if you look at any map or almanac pre-1800s, you will see mention of a place called Tartaria.
And I've mentioned this before. Tartaria was a blanket term used by Europeans for the area in Asia between the Caspian Sea and the Pacific Ocean in the west. So technically it was an actual area of the world, an area that had Tartarian people. But, like a lot of empires, they fell for whatever reason and new regimes took hold.
And it is basically where Russia and Mongolia is in Europe, which is a huge place. And then you will see, if you do more research and find older maps of like the 16th century of North America and the east coast of North America, you will see many cities that are Tartarian cities on the west coast of the United States of America.
I think the belief that Tartaria had a hold in North America is an incorrect one, based on a few misunderstandings and apparently some badly translated Latin when looking at old maps.
In what year? What, the 16th century? So 16th century, the 1700s?
Oh dear, the 16th century was the 1500s, buddy, not the 1700s. That was the 18th century.
there was huge cities, giant buildings, giant buildings in these cities, a very specific architecture that you will see all over the world, and in every city, just about every city in the United States, you will see an immense amount of this architecture.
Even on the West Coast.
Even on the West Coast. They call it Greco-Roman, they call it Victorian, they call it a lot of things.
Greco-Roman and Victorian are two vastly different architectural styles from two very different time periods. Victorian, for example, came over 300 years after the 1500s.
But those words that they're calling it are simply distractions. We don't really want to get into looking at evidence right now because there's so much, and it's so much that it's almost like both me and her, like she'll go to work and she'll be looking up some stuff and I'll be looking at things and we'll just be like, your mind is blown every 30 minutes of research down this rabbit hole. We can't.
So
it's
this is just the beginning.
Yeah, we're just kind of trying to, we're letting you know that we're going to start making a series looking at this stuff. But
okay, well, give us what you've got then.
Everyone, can go do research on this in their own cities because these buildings are everywhere.
The existence of these buildings, in my very humble opinion, doesn't prove anything. Please can you confirm to us how it does, or even imply what they infer?
Some of them have been refaced. Many of them have been refaced.
Yeah,
many of them have been toned down to not look so old and foreign.
Yeah.
They're very, very ornate, very large castles, basically. I mean, giant buildings that we just weren't making in the early 1800s while we were having wars and basically the United States was, there wasn't anything built here. And it was hard life, and supposedly according to history, we built all these giant buildings in all these cities, these huge tons and tons and tons of buildings with no skilled labor, no businesses who have been quarrying, who've been making bricks. Like, this was all from scratch, like within 100 years, if you go by history's terms. If you look at pictures of the city you're from in the 1800s, you will see a very specific red brick architecture.
So what's our excuse here in the UK? The Houses of Parliament were built in 1840 and Buckingham Palace in 1703. And don't even get me started on these guys.
Once you start actually researching once you start going down this rabbit hole, you become familiarized with the architecture and you start to see it everywhere. We've been racking our brains trying to figure out how to explain how immense and connected this rabbit hole is. And how much evidence there is. It's not like we're making, there's no evidence and we're just speculating about history and there's no way of learning anything about it. There's so many strange things involved. There could be 10 movies. I mean, there's so much strange stuff.
Strange stuff isn't evidence, and even some evidence isn't good evidence.
World's fairs are connected. Freemasons are very much connected. This basically explains the origination and like how Freemasons how they got power in the United States. And it's like there's so many things connected to this. It's crazy, but you have to do a lot of research on your own.
But I'm watching your video, The Tartarian Reset, in a nutshell. Surely you should be explaining this.
To really understand how deep this goes, we're like a month deep. I know I've known about the Tartarian Empire for a long time. A buddy of mine, Scotty Hotstetter on Facebook, shout out bro, he's been talking about it forever. We only recently really dove in this last month, and it's been like non-stop, because it's really interesting stuff. And you just get a lot of these. Okay, so like basically there was a reset around 1850 like a major reset.
And now we cut to the chase about this reset. Here we go.
Where there was this culture basically giving out electricity, possibly. And the powers that be, the robber barons, were like, hey, wait, we could probably manipulate this or exploit this in some way, and these people are just giving it away. There's some people who think that the Tartarians may have been pacifists. There's some people that say the Tartarians were barbarians, so we don't really know.
So you don't really know who the Tartarians were. You aren't really sure if they gave away free electricity, and you have no reason for the buildings to be how they are. Not really going too well, this, is it?
But they were basically, somehow there might have been a cataclysm. There's so much speculation about it, but they vanished somehow. They're just gone. They either, there was either a war and they were wiped off the face of the planet, or it's also something that's important to know is the Tartarians were a very multicultural group, which is strange, obviously, because we're all kind of shoved up in corners with our own people now these days.
Are we? Records show that here in the UK, in London alone, there's over 200 different nationalities.
But this group was supposedly very multicultural, and the more you research and look at old paintings and old things from way back in the time, there's Tartarians hanging out with like Aboriginals, Islanders and stuff, and they're like working together and partying, and they look like they're friends because it seems like, something cool's happening. But we don't really know.
You seem to have said that you don't really know an awful lot so far.
But the more you research, the more you kind of learn a little bit about what's going on or what happened. But it's very fascinating if you're into this kind of stuff. This will keep you thinking, and I mean, like I said, your mind's blown every 30 minutes of researching with this stuff, and there's a lot of really good information on YouTube. There's several YouTubers we'll put the link here for, which are dudes that have been doing this for a while, that are gangsters, and they have a lot of really good information, and they have just tons and tons of footage you can look at, and tons of pictures of places and all over the world where you're seeing this same architecture over and over and over and over. And we were taught that this is like local architecture to these regions, but it's not. There's slightly different variations because they're using different types of materials and stuff, but there's this, ongoing, like, oh, well, that's Tartarian architecture. You can just see it, and it's all over the world.
Okay, so from what I can tell, because some architectural styles are similar, that is being attributed to the Tartarians. The problem with trying to research this for yourself is that there's so many people like Jeffrey Son of Liberty out there that they are attributing the Tartarians or the Tartarian architecture to all sorts of different photos of old buildings, whether that be the case or not. I found this tweet from December last year, which claims that the golden dome that sits atop the Notre Dame University is Tartarian built. However, it is well known that this dome was rebuilt after a fire in 1879 and was designed by Illinois-born Willoughby J. Edbrook, and he called the architectural style of the building modern Gothic.
And so the Tartarians were they had the tech that Tesla was trying to figure out.
Oh wow, now they knew more about Tesla apparently. Let's stop here and we'll delve into the second half of their video, which promises to be more interesting next month. Exciting times everyone! But for now, that wraps up this week's Tinfoil Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it today, then please do consider hitting that subscribe button and hitting the like button as well. It'd be very much appreciated. I have been Simon Dan. Have yourselves a great day, and I'll see you all tomorrow for the positive comments video. See you then.